Check it out. Let me tell you one.
Freedom for all!
Welcome, my MMA brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 4 of the MMA Half Hour. I'm Raul. I don't have a partner in crime today. Schedules didn't quite work out, but the show must go on, especially since we probably have the biggest fight of the year, Diaz and Mcgregor. I mean, it probably doesn't get much bigger than this one. Plenty of fights going on for the rest of the year, but this one's pretty darn big. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of prelim talk, the co-main event, and of course the main event. But as usual, check out the description below. I put the video guide where you can just click on whatever topic you might be most into. If you don't want to hear me jabber for a half hour, if you just want to take a look at the main part of whatever you might want to look at the video guide and jump right to it. Other than that, I wanted to say a big thank you to all you guys that have viewed. I love MMA. I love doing this. I mean, obviously, if anybody knows, YouTube doesn't pay nothing for doing videos, pretty much. So I do it for fun. The community is building. I'm very excited. So at the end of the video, you can take a look at, or obviously in the description below, you could look at all the different links. So whether it's Twitter or Instagram, whatever you kind of like, if you got questions, comments, and you want to join in on the community, I'm looking to grow this. We're working on some Skype things to where we can get some calls in, start talking with you guys, and that's basically the whole idea. Talk MMA, have a good time, and cheers. You know, I gotta have my beer when I do one of these. Makes me relax, makes me feel like I'm just hanging out with you guys, and that's the whole goal. All right, let's jump right into it. So let's start off with honorable mentions. The Fight Pass prelim looks like what they kind of have as the big fight for the Fight Pass members. I recently became a member, and $10 a month, you know, it's one of those things. It's an expense. But for me, I'm big on MMA. I'm obviously doing this, so I want to try to give as much as possible. So I am a Fight Pass member, and it's freaking great. I'm actually going from UFC 1 and making my way up just to kind of go over everything all over again, and it's just a blast. But even for stuff like this, I can look at past fights and just kind of keep everything fresh in my mind. And what I've realized is they want a big fight for Fight Pass, and then they want a big fight for FS1, and then obviously they want you to pay for the main event, the pay-per-view. But again, let's just jump right into it. So Neil Magny and Lorenz Larkin. This is kind of crazy because the welterweight, as usual, is a stack. We got so much talent, so many guys, so many fights that haven't even happened yet between all of these good guys, and this one's an interesting one. Neil Magny, I got a lot of respect for the guy. He's done so many fights in a short amount of time. I'm gonna talk about this fight and his style and everything, but Neil Magny, I just really respect for doing so many fights, and you can just see that comfortability in the cage. So I'm gonna quickly go over this one. He's ranked 7, and Lorenz Larkin, who's no slouch, definitely you would feel that he should be ranked. He's a tough guy, but he's not ranked. So that was kind of interesting. But that's how stacked this is. There's so many good fighters in the welterweight that even Lorenz Larkin is not ranked yet. So this is a big fight for him, because if he can beat Neil Magny, ranked number 7, that kind of changes the whole story, and that's the beauty of MMA, right? So let's just quickly talk about just kind of each fighter and kind of what they need to do, what I think is going to happen. And either way, this is just a good fight. You definitely got to try to catch if you can, or obviously afterwards you guys can catch it. Neil Magny, here's the thing with him. So he's got the length. Now, I've seen plenty of people, Struve being front of my mind, that have length but don't always know how to use it. They're not all John Jones, and they don't always know how to utilize their length to kind of use it to their advantage. Neil Magny has gotten a lot of experience in a short amount of time, and what's crazy is his stand-up might not be up with Lorenz Larkin, but it's definitely good. And not only is it decent enough to kind of, maybe he'll stand up with him, because maybe he's only gotten better, which I would believe. His scrambles are real good too. I was watching some of his recent fights, and just being on the ground, he fought Calvin Gastelum, which is probably a really tough, one of the toughest fights in the division, and he did just an amazing job on the ground. And that was a 5-round fight. If you guys haven't seen that one, you should definitely check that one out. And that was just very impressive. What he was able to do on the ground, he did what he could standing, but then he just, got it to the ground, and it just was so smooth. Very exciting. I would definitely check out that fight if you didn't. Lorenz Larkin, on the other hand, the Monsoon, it looks like he's at this point, he has his record, they're actually very similar, 17-5. He has a lot of experience, and I think he's one of those guys that, if you've noticed, once they get to a certain spot in their career, I kind of think of GSP, if you guys can follow me, where they might be knocking people out or finishing guys, but as they go along, they end up fighting smarter, I think is the best way to put it. They fight smarter, they pick their shots, and they do what they're good at. He might be well-rounded, but they do what they're good at. He can do a lot of good takedowns, but with Neil Magny, that might be a problem on the ground, possibly. He's very long. He's only getting better. That might not be where he wants to go. Stand-up-wise, I think that's where Lorenz has the advantage. He could hit hard. He can get into the pocket. He could. His clinch game is pretty good. So this is just going to be an interesting fight. I won't say too much more after this, but because there's so much to talk about, but I'm very excited for this fight. I think it's a big opportunity for Lorenz. As far as Neil, I almost thought they should have given him number one, a ranked fighter, but even a higher ranked fighter, just because he's been doing so well. Come on, he beat Kelvin Gastelum in a 5-round fight. To me, you should probably give it to him, or give him, something that's going to mean more. But knowing him, he probably just wants to keep active. That's what they offered him, and there we go. All right, moving along. At the bantamweight, 135, we got Cody Garbrandt and Takeya Mizugaki, and that's going to be on the FS1 prelim. So that's like the big fight for FS1. I'm very excited for this too, and I kind of feel a little bit the same in regards to Cody Garbrandt. He's ranked 8 right now. Takeya's ranked 11. I mean, I personally think that Cody Garbrandt, not only is he grown in popularity ever since he beat Thomas Almeida, which was, I think he was ranked 10. So it's kind of like one of those things. It's like he's already in the top 10. Why not give him somebody a little bit tougher, especially because of what he did? He knocked him out in the first round. Cody Garbrandt is getting no love, I guess, in this case, because he's going against Takeya at ranked 11. Again, you don't know what's going on in the backgrounds. We don't know the whole story. Ultimately, maybe he just wants to get a fight, keep active, get paid. But in winning this, I don't know. It's just one of those things. You're right back where you already are. But this is an opportunity for Mizugaki to get a win and see what happens. But this is what you want to look for. Boxing, stand-up. This is where it's probably going to end up staying. I don't know that for sure, because I think Cody definitely likes the stand-up, but he's got wrestling, and he might go that way. But I want to say that he's going to keep it standing, which is going to be interesting, because for Mizugaki, his boxing is really where he excels the most. If you notice any of his fights, he might throw a kick and knee here and there, but really it's his boxing that he's really good at. But when he gets taken down, or the grappling kind of comes in hand and gets him tired, that's where he kind of is a little bit not out of his element. I can't say that, but that's just not his best area. He wants to stand with the guy. So this could be a very exciting fight. Cody's just very fast. Obviously, he's very young. I kind of see him going with it, but it's going to be an exciting fight. So I will say that. All right, let's keep it moving and jump into the main event. In the main event, the other next fight that I'm very excited about is Rick Story and Donald Cerrone. Now, this is the third fight that Donald Cerrone is going to have at the welterweight, 170 pounds. I'm not surprised, but I actually looked at this and I was like, damn! Donald Cerrone's record is 30-7. That's a lot of fights. That's a lot of experience, and ultimately, I liked him at 155, but he was kind of a tall, 155 or so. At 170, I think that might very well be where he is most explosive, and just healthier, stronger, the whole 9 yards. And I think we've been seeing how good that could really be for him, because his last 2 fights have been fantastic. Rick Story, on the other hand, 19-8, definitely very well experienced. I'm going to mention 2 fights if you guys want to check out. Again, before the event, when I do this type of show, I'm getting excited, and I want to get you guys excited. So I try to do my homework. So if you haven't looked into it, or if you already know, if you want to revisit or whatever, these are the things I'm mentioning. So Rick Story versus Tarek Saffiedine. That would actually be the most similar fight to him fighting a Donald Cerrone type, and was very exciting. A lot of clinch work, grappling, a little bit. He basically stayed on the inside. Saffiedine has longer. He's got great kicks, and he kind of made it Rick Story's fight. So that was kind of similar. Gunnar Nelson, I have a lot of respect for Gunnar Nelson. I really like him as a fighter. I just get a feeling of a true martial artist when I think of Gunnar Nelson, from his jiu-jitsu game to his stand-up. He just is so well-rounded. Now, this was a few years ago, but they had 5 rounds. It was a main event. It was 5 rounds. They went at it. Rick Story, I almost want to say, won almost every round. So this is just a very exciting fight for me. I don't know what's going to happen. Donald Cerrone is tough, whether it's the ground. His stand-up is, he's using his knees, his elbows. I mean, again, with all of these different fights, you guys tell me. I love hearing you guys and your different perspectives and what you guys think, what you guys have seen. I'm only one guy with one view, so I can only say so much. But this fight's going to be an exciting one, so I definitely would look into Rick Story if you haven't seen him too much before. Those were 2 of the biggest fights that I would say were the most telling, that versus Donald Cerrone is going to be interesting. Now, another fact right here. Rick Story, it's funny, depending on where you look, UFC says he's ranked 9, and then on another page, UFC says he's ranked 10. So 9 or 10, whatever. Donald Cerrone, number 14. Obviously, he's still kind of climbing up the ranks at the welterweight, and this is basically a fight that does make a lot of sense. So, super exciting. Let me take a sip here, because we're about to get to the 2 main fights. Shock top, holler at your boy. All right, the co-main event: Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Glover Teixeira. Now, here, very similar records. Rumble Johnson 21-5, Glover 25-4. This one's crazy. I almost feel like that feeling you get when you're talking about a heavyweight fight. When you're talking about a heavyweight fight, for sure, you're going to figure maybe this guy's going to just dominate this other guy. But these are heavy hands. And this fight is heavy hands versus heavy hands. But one thing to consider, Anthony Rumble Johnson was originally a wrestler. So keep that in mind. But Glover, on the other hand, I feel like he got the heavy hands, but he might not want to mess with Anthony Johnson on the stand-up, just because one of those hits will throw him to the moon, and that's a dangerous game to play with Rumble Johnson versus anyone, right? Glover's a tough guy. He's a big guy. He hits hard, all that. But I think if he wants to definitely put it to him, he's got to go to the DC route. Take him down, tire him out, beat him up, try to submit him, so on and so forth. You got to weather the storm. Rumble Johnson is one of those guys. He has a heavy storm. As of late, all of his, I would say the last, 3, 4, maybe 5 fights, you can tell that his conditioning is better, so he can last longer, but he wants to knock your head off. And if he touches you with pretty much any of his hits, including his kicks, it's just a dangerous game to play. If you take the guy down, you are in the advantage, and Glover has that advantage if he can take him down. So that's where it's going to become very interesting. Can Rumble Johnson clip him as he's coming in or anything like that? That's going to be the game. And again, love MMA because it's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know which way it's going to go. And at the end of the day, every fighter has what they're better at. So can you accomplish that? Have him play your game? That one's going to be very interesting. Fights to look at if you want to revisit, get excited, and all that good stuff. Glover versus OSP. Ovens had real good, and he's a longer guy. He had very good stand-up. He was pretty successful there. What did Glover do? Take him down. He ended up submitting him. So that's definitely a good fight to kind of, I guess, compare and contrast. But Rumble Johnson, he's no slouch on the ground. I think if he's got his cardio on point, at least to kind of give a good amount of energy for those 3 rounds, of course, he's always got that puncher's chance, and he's good at landing that punch. So that's going to be definitely exciting. Now, what's interesting also, if you guys want to comment and tell me what you guys think, the light heavyweight 205 is very interesting. And I wrote this down just to kind of bring this up to you guys, and you guys can tell me what you guys think. I don't think that the light heavyweight is so stacked, as far as I think there's a gap in talent. There's a gap between, let's go down the list. We got DC, we got Rumble, we got Glover, we got Alexander Gustafsson, and then beyond there, no disrespect, but from beyond there, we got Ryan Bader, OSP, and so on. OSP probably would take out Ryan Bader, so I think he should be ranked above him. But that's what we got. So it's one of those things that we're seeing a lot of the same fighters fight each other. This is one fight that hasn't happened, so it definitely must happen. And whoever wins is probably going to get the fight against DC. And, of course, that is going to be exciting. John Jones, what's interesting is he's not even in the ranking. And, I'm just going off of the app of Fight Pass. I don't know if he's online or whatever the case. But it's like John Jones isn't even in consideration right now. Obviously, he's going through everything he's going through. If you guys know, I haven't quite looked into it yet. I don't know that he's gotten his 2-year suspension or anything like that at this point. But it's just one of those things. I mean, I understand all the details, but John Jones is definitely considered one of the best. I so wish that fight happened against DC, but it didn't, and it is what it is. But his name's not in that list that I just gave, because literally on the Fight Pass app, his name is just not there. Obviously, he'd be the number 1, no doubt about that. But we can't consider him yet. Hopefully, whatever happens, happens, and he can get in here sooner than later, and we can see what happens. All right. Where I wanted to spend the most time. How much time we got? Man, time flies, right? All right, we got enough time. Plenty of time. This is where I wanted to slow down and talk about it. So I wanted to get your comments. I want to get your questions, because I want to make this a community. I want to make this to where we talk about this. I can shout you guys out and kind of give credit to your comments and your questions and make it a conversation. So what I did was I did get 2 questions that I want to ask all of you, and I'm going to go ahead and answer here. And that's what I'm going to start this off with the main event, Diaz versus Mcgregor. Now, I can pretty much bet $1 that everyone who's seeing this right now has seen part 1. So you guys saw how it went down. You guys know the whole background for the most part, I'm sure, and I don't need to go there. Now, I will give my 2 cents of what I think is going to happen in this fight, but let's go off with these questions, because I think it's a good way to get warmed up. So shout out to Luis Joe Suarez. And I'm going to put where I got these questions from in the description below. I'm going to give credit also to those videos that I watched, I enjoyed. And this is actually from UFC 202, the free fight versus Johnson and Nate Diaz, Michael Johnson, that is. And his question is, am I the only person who respects Diaz and McGregor? And I thought that this was a great comment that he made, because it just brings me up to, I guess I'm going to step out the box right quick and mention this. I might have my favorite fighters and who I might be going for, who I think is going to win. That, if you notice in the video prior UFC 200, we did a thing which is always fun. Who are you going for, and who do you think is going to win? 2 different things. And just generally speaking, I think when people comment and stuff and, oh, you know, this or that, and you guys, if you guys are YouTubers, that's why you're here right now. You've seen the comments and what people say. At the end of the day, I think most people, including myself, we have respect for all the fighters. And in this case, it's no different for me. McGregor is a fantastic fighter. He didn't do what he did at 145 and prior by not being a good fighter. I think his jiu-jitsu is actually very good as well. In the first fight, he just basically got tired and got caught. Not even caught. He couldn't handle a black belt on top of him that was heavier by that time, and so on and so forth. So this rematch, I don't see as plain and simple that it's going to happen the same exact way. But I do think it's going to happen similarly. So I just want to answer that question, but for you guys, I want to ask all of you as well, and I want to hear your comments. Am I the only person who respects Diaz and McGregor? What's your answer? All right, next question. All right, Jamari J. Williams. He has a comment. Says, there is no way this goes to decision. Do you guys agree or disagree? For me, I definitely agree. I don't. This is 5 rounds. I don't quite see this going to the whole 5 rounds to decision, and this is why. And I guess this is where I'm gonna break down. And the comment that I got this video from is UFC 202 Diaz versus McGregor 2 promo. That channel is official highlights. Awesome video. Awesome video. I already left my comment giving them props because it really was a good promo. I really liked it. There's no way this goes to decision. I definitely don't think so. So let's break this down a little bit. Let me start with McGregor. Again, McGregor is a great fighter. And for him to go up to 155, I could see that happening. He sucks himself dry going to 145. 155 is probably his more natural weight where he could also excel. We haven't quite seen that yet. That's kind of why I wanted this fight to be at 155, but he has a lot of pull, as we all know, and it's at 170. Now, this is what I think. McGregor has so many tools, so many different strikes, so many different angles. He is a tough guy to fight, I am sure. But what I personally think, and I think Chael Sonnen kind of touched on this. Well, he kind of said, if I'm not gonna quote him because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he said McGregor is a 9-minute fighter. He's not gonna become a 5-round fighter in this amount of time, as in from the first fight to now. And I think that resonated a lot because that makes a lot of sense. I think, number one, yes, you have to prepare for a 5-round fight, which I'm sure he has, and I'm sure his cardio is going to be something very different from the first time. So I definitely say that. So I could see this fight lasting longer, but I don't see him being that much more economical on his energy. I see him being more economical, and I see him being more conditionally prepared, but his style of fighting, in my opinion, is pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. And when you put pressure on somebody, that means a lot of feints, a lot of strikes, whether it's kicks, punches, whatever it is that you're doing, you're moving forward. And moving backwards is actually more exhausting, but when he strikes, he puts a lot of pepper in his punches and in his kicks. So to say that he's going to kind of tone that down a little bit and maybe play a game where he's going to pick him apart a little bit more, I could see that happening, but to a degree. At the end of the day, what has made him successful, what has made him the biggest star and gotten his wins is that he presses forward. He doesn't give these guys room to breathe. And he's been able to finish guys. Obviously, he found out you cannot finish Nate Diaz. Obviously, it is possible, but it wasn't that easy. And man, this is just a big, intriguing fight. I can talk about this forever. How much time we got? Got a little bit of time. All right, so let's keep going. So, a lot of respect for McGregor. I personally, at the end of the day, I think that he's going to put the pressure. That's his style. Maybe not so many spinning kicks, nothing too flashy to not waste more energy when he kind of doesn't need to. Pick them apart, work them, try to win the rounds, so on and so forth. Let's switch over. Diaz. He's going to come in fully prepared, and I really want to see him as in weigh-in and at the fight. I kind of make some last-minute adjustments on my decision at the end of the fight, but I think that Diaz is going to do very similar to where maybe he already has a little bit of the style. He's going to fill him out. The 1-2, the jab, he's just going to pick him apart. That's the Diaz way. Just touch him. Touch him, touch him, touch him. It doesn't matter if it's a slap. It doesn't matter if it's a jab. Just keep touching him, keep making him think. I don't see much groundwork going, as in I don't see Diaz trying to take him down. Because I've noticed that most of the time he just wants to stand up. He works on a lot of boxing. He's very good at his boxing, and he can pick people apart. A lot of quantity. These punches don't have his full energy in them, but he's not overextending. It's a balance between touching him and making sure that you can get out of the way of any counters and just movement. Just pick, and when the opportunity arises, turn it up. That's what we saw in the first fight. I totally see it going that way. 5 rounds is a long time. If it was a 3-round fight, which McGregor probably will never have for a long time, it would be a different story. But when you're going 5 rounds, he's got to be economical, and I know he's training his butt off, and that's going to be the big question, right? Did all that training in this kind of short amount of time, are you ready for a 5-round fight? Are you able to last and continue to stay in that fight? Because just like the first fight, if it goes into a situation where he's starting to gas a little bit, Diaz will turn it up. He will turn it up. And man, I'm just so excited for this fight because there's a lot of questions. I totally go with the whole McGregor thing, better conditioning, a different plan. I mean, he was saying, I'm eating steaks and this and that. He probably very much had it in his mind that he was going to knock him out in the first, second round. No big deal. And this is another point I wanted to bring out. Do you guys remember the fight versus Chad Mendes? Tell me this. If he did not knock out Chad Mendes when he did he not look tired? If it went into the next round, and I mean, Chad Mendes was pretty tired himself, so that's a different story. But in the next round, if Chad Mendes was able to take him down and try to gruel him down there again, I mean, it would have been a different fight maybe. He looked tired. It was a 5-round fight. What would he have looked like by round 5 if Chad Mendes was able to last that long? So I wasn't really that surprised when he looked tired round 2 versus Diaz. I can't wait for this fight. So I'm curious myself. I feel it's gonna go longer. It will go, to round 3 and 4. I don't quite see round 5. I think round 4 is gonna be a real tough round for McGregor. I don't see him being able to be as economical, because if he starts backing up, that is not his style. He's not used to getting backed up. What's going to happen when he does get backed up? He probably doesn't want to go to the ground again. I think his jiu-jitsu is actually very good. McGregor has very good jiu-jitsu. There's no doubt about that. But when you're tired, I mean, you can only do so much. You got a bigger guy that's gonna weigh more than you, and he's longer than you. I don't think you want to mess with that on the ground. And he's got a black belt as well. So I see him trying to keep it standing as much as possible. I don't think he'll risk going to the ground. Oh my God, I can talk about this over and over and over and over again. I'm super excited. Andrea, if you look at episode 2, we're going to do a post-fight episode where we're going to talk about these fights after the fact. And I'm very excited to do that as well, just because I'm just so freaking curious, and whether I'm super surprised they went the same that it did the first time, whatever ends up happening, it's gonna be a show. It's gonna be good. So I hope you guys like this episode. I went through obviously the main fights that I think you guys should pay a little more attention to. I do like all some of the other fights, but I'm just trying to stick with at least the main ones. I only got a half hour. I want to kind of get the main fights that most people know of, all the main fighters that most people know of, and just kind of see where this goes. So let me hear your comments. Let me hear your questions. Throw down your predictions. Let me see what you guys think is going to happen and all that good stuff. Again, I thank you for watching and joining in, and MMA community. I love it. It's what I do. I'm repping my old school tap out shirt. I don't even wear this. This is just a shirt that I keep just for old memories, but I was like, hey, for this, I'm going to wear it. So holler to tap out. You guys remember those days. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Go ahead and comment below and all that good stuff, and I will see you on after the fight, and we'll see what happens. Peace.